All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Texas Soccer Live, episode 41 to be exact. And I am here joined, as usual, with Richard Romero and Raul Villarreal. And we have a special guest tonight. You caught the episode over the summer. My cousin, Michael Black, here, plays for Trinity University. He's joining us on the stream tonight. So welcome, everybody. And yeah, well, we have a lot to talk about, so we're going to jump right in, and we're going to if you're going to be watching this on playback, we're doing a little follow up with Michael and how his first semester's gone, transitioning to the college game and all things COVID and all that craziness. And then we're going to jump into things. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to start with some Euro soccer tonight. We'll talk about the Big Five leagues and where they're at. We'll talk Champions League round of 16 is going to. About a month and a half away. Finally got knockout rounds with that. And then we'll shift gears. We'll talk about Libertadores, which is the last of the continental champions to be determined. We'll do World Cup of Clubs, and we'll finish off with some Olympic soccer with the Summer Olympics with the U23 teams coming up this summer. So, Michael, welcome back. It's good to have you with us. I know last time we talked to you, you were just getting – actually, you were literally like days away, I think, from heading off and to college. How's it been? I mean, overall, you're back. You finished the semester. How do you feel things went your first semester up at Trinity in San Antonio?
I'm first of all just glad to be back. It's been a rough first semester in terms of COVID. Definitely not what I expected in terms of like a normal college experience, but we made the most of it. Definitely in terms of soccer, we had like multiple phases, phase 1, 2, 3, kind of progressing in terms of like how we're allowed to move into like different stages of like play. For example, first stage would be no contact, second stage would be limited contact, and then third stage is full on contact. So nothing like anything I'm used to. Mm-hmm. But we definitely made the most of it. And then on the school side, everything's going as good as I could have hoped. But we'll see how it goes second semester.
So I know you obviously not only were you there was a lot of new things you were adjusting to, but one of those things, staying on the soccer side of things, was obviously adjusting to a whole new team, guys who you never had actually played before, really, even practiced with before. Kind of walk us through how has that experience been? I mean, how's it working with a brand new set of teammates? How does kind of talk about that transition going from? I know you obviously played with the guys you played with forever, in high school and coming up, and then probably on your club team. But how was it adjusting to some brand new teammates?
I mean, being a freshman, it's always going to be difficult. You know how that goes.
Mm,
But in terms of adjusting to a new team, it's not anything new for me. I mean, I've played for multiple club teams, adjusting to new environments, new coaches, new kids, and then on the high school side, I mean, the team changes every year because seniors graduate, new freshmen come in. So
mm.
I'm always looking for ways to better myself and prove myself to the new group of guys. So it's just essentially first impressions are important, but I think I've done a good job in terms of just letting them know that I'm here to work hard and provide the best for the team.
And you guys got a good number. I mean, if I remember right, and it's always been like this. It was when I was there, and everything is you guys got probably a pretty decent mix of guys that are not from Texas and guys who are probably not even from the United States. Am I right? Is that still the case?
Yeah, we actually have 47 kids on the roster, something
Oh
like
wow.
that. So it's a huge roster, kids from all over. I'd say probably a little under half are from Texas,
Hmm.
but we have international students, kids from the Northeast and all around the
Yeah.
United States. So it's a diverse group.
Now, I know you talk about all the protocols and things they put you through, and all the systems we've now put in place. We're used to in our lives now, but even with all that, you still managed to come down with COVID in the middle of all
Yeah,
this. Talk about that experience. Just obviously being away from home. You stayed there. I'm assuming you were isolated up there. What was that like? I mean, I'm sure that was not
it was
a pleasant
terrible.
couple weeks.
Yeah, so I actually got it the week before I was supposed to come home. So I actually ended up staying there for 10 days, and they put me in a separate dorm all by myself, just isolated up there. Um, I was really tired most of the time, so I slept. That's how I spent my time, just sleeping.
Mm.
So, uh, I mean, I made the most of it, but it it sucked. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was going to ask you about that. I mean, now that you've kind of gone through it, I know you guys. I mean, what's it looking like going forward for y'all in terms of? I know you say obviously a freshman, and it's a little bit different situation, but season wise and games, and what sort of things have been developing, or what's in the works in terms of actual play going forward.
So, regular season would have started, I think, late September of the
Hmm.
fall. So obviously that didn't happen, and I think it was you play each team in our conference home and away, and then
Hmm.
the top four go on to the conference playoffs or however it works. But
Yeah.
now it's a shortened season. We only play each team once.
Hmm.
We start on, I think our first game is February 20th, and there's no chance to advance in the national tournament. It's just once your conference tournament is over, that the
Okay.
season's over. The
So you're
good,
just playing. You're just playing for that conference championship. You
yeah.
can't.
So we only have like 7-8 games,
Right.
and then once you play all of the teams in your region, it's over.
Yeah.
The good thing is though, this year doesn't count towards eligibility. So if I wanted to stay for a fifth year and play, this year wouldn't. It essentially doesn't count. So
That's
that is a
that's huge.
positive.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that was my next question. I was thinking about guys who are, especially seniors on your team. I mean, I know a lot of them. I know it's different from school to school, situation to situation, but it's. I'm sure there'll be a plenty. I'm sure there'll be a good number of guys nationally who may decide to stick around for a fifth year if they didn't get that
Yeah.
senior season.
Our senior captain is actually, so he's finishing out this year with us, and then because, like I said, because of COVID, he has another year, and he's actually transferring to SMU for his fifth year.
Oh,
He's going to play there. So
moving up.
yeah, it's excited for him, but sad to see him go.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, I appreciate you checking in, and I'm glad you're going to stick around for this a little bit here. We're going to jump into some things and get the guys in here because I know they've been wanting to talk about some of this stuff. Before I move on, Raul, Richard, anything else from Michael, or should we just jump into our reaction to the Cubs?
Well, definitely glad to see that you're safe, Michael, and I mean, definitely getting in the swing of things, and obviously with the opportunity for you to play an extra couple of years after you're done with college. So, congratulations on that. I mean, like you said, it's definitely been an interesting semester, and obviously, like on the school side of things, like the first semester is always the
Yeah,
hardest one, and I think like COVID has really made one of the most challenging for incoming first year. So, I mean, congrats on one being alive and just continuing and being excited for this upcoming semester.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, let's jump in, and like I said, Mike's going to stick around with us for a couple segments. Let's get into some reactions, because our last show in December, we were talking about a lot of different finals and playoffs going on, and there were several champions of different leagues that were crowned since we were last on here. Some interesting ends to seasons. Let's start off with an easy one before we get into. I'm going to go in order here. MLS wrapped theirs up pretty quickly. Both Liga MX and MLS had to finish theirs in time so they could then turn around and have CONCACAF champions, and it wouldn't overlap. So Columbus Crew ended up, which I think you guys could be wrong. I'm pretty sure all three of us picked them. No, Richard didn't. I know.
I didn't. I
didn't pick them to win. I think I put them in the finals.
You did.
I put them in the finals, but I had picked Portland, who'd gotten knocked out by FC Frisco. But I believe Raul was the one who did put them all the way. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said after looking at that bracket, I was like, yeah, the Columbus Crew is the only team that I see that can actually run the table and win.
Yeah, it was interesting for me. I mean, I'll put it this way: they definitely earned it. They came out of the easier side of the bracket. The East, I think, was way easier. There was all these little Cinderella stories going on with Nashville and New England to an extent. New England was going deep, but the West was really, I guess, more for me. Seattle pretty convincingly getting the way through. I think that's impressive that they won against Seattle, and in the way they did. I mean, winning 3-0, it was no doubt that they were the better team, at least under those circumstances.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, for me, the only reason why I hadn't seen Columbus all the way through, or at least winning the title, was for that exact same reason, that I think I thought that we were going to have a champion from the West, whether it had been Seattle or Portland. But I mean, they proved us wrong. I mean, they showed us that they really want to play. Your boy Celarayan came on top and really showed the MLS, hey, this is a guy who's just driven to make the team really good. And Columbus Crew won their second title, and I think that's amazing.
Am I correct that they this was the first season that Celarayan was with them?
Yes.
Yeah, he had just transferred, and then this was his first season.
Yeah, it shows you the power that one player can have, and those, if you play your cards right with those international spots, those designated players, you can literally turn your team around. I mean, they were already a good team. They had traded a year before with getting Nagby and having Zardes on there, but yeah, their midfield with him in there now was just ridiculous depth on that team. So, congrats to them. They obviously, with that win, they get we'll see them in CONCACAF champions in the future, with them getting a berth because of winning that title. Moving over to Liga MX, the wild playoffs. We were right in the thick of it when we had the show, and pretty interesting how it turned out. You had Pumas and Leon. First leg 1-1, so it was pretty evenly matched. But Leon coming ahead in the second game, 2-0. First place team. It's been a while since we've seen a team go in first place, but hey, hats off to Leon. They went in they were just dominant all year, and earned their way there. We can talk about I'm curious to get y'all's opinions, because there were some pretty wacky games. I guess the one that I'll highlight that I enjoyed the most was seeing Cruz Azul absolutely collapse against Pumas. I mean, that was historic. What was it, 4-0? They came back. That was
Jesus.
Cruz Azul, just sit down and shut up. I mean, they kept talking all this mess, but they let Pumas come back in a second leg and rattle off 4 goals. I mean, come on. So that was my big shocker. Not shocker because I wasn't surprised because it's Cruz Azul, but still, even for Cruz Azul, I was like, even they can't blow this. Well, they blew it. What was y'all's impressions? I'm sure each of y'all, your teams went a little bit farther than mine, but not much. Kind of how you feel about how it turned out for the other squads.
I knew that Cruz Azul was bound to go down like that. I mean, we we had said like one of these teams is not what they seem to be, and it was Cruz Azul. I mean, but I mean, I've seen Pumas do that once against Tigres in like 2015. Tigres was winning like 4-0. We go to their stadium and then they come back and it's just like Jesus. And then we go to penalties and then we win in penalties. I don't know what happened with Cruz Azul, but as soon as that happened, their coach just said, "You know what? I'm leaving. So good luck to you all."
Well,
The
then
HL is pretty bad.
then they turned around and got bounced out of CONCACAF Champions, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a double thing there. Richard, what were your thoughts?
No, man, it's just crazy. Like I was on the hopeful side. I was like, you know what? Like if people are saying this is Cruz Azul's year, that they should have been the ones who won the Clausura earlier this year. And I was like, no, I mean, you got to play out the games because in reality, that's what you got to do. They were winning 4-0. I think
Yeah,
anybody who predicted this match, and for those of you who are watching this and might have not seen that game, you should probably watch the highlights because they won like unconvincingly. They won 4-0 against
hmm
Pumas, but then they go over to Seoul and lose 5-0. Like, how do you do that in a matter of minutes? Like, literally, like, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was watching. My dad was so surprised. And like 15 minutes in, and they're already 3-4. Like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Then,
and that comeback, by the way, just to let you know, yeah, 3 of those goals. Here's the thing: 3 of those goals were scored in the first half, and Pumas' comeback, so they're still down a goal. They held them the entire half. Don't forget that fourth and deciding goal was scored in the 89th minute. I mean, come on, Cruz Azul. You couldn't have hung on for 2 more minutes plus stoppage. I mean, Jesus. Anyways,
yeah, and then I mean, in terms of America, like I think like I honestly didn't think they were gonna win. Of course, they're my team. I want them to win, but realistically, they did a lot in this tournament that I think that just by being America, that's why they reached this far. I don't think because of any
no,
merits in the field. They were always seemingly had trouble resolving games, and Chivas kind of like blew that out of proportions for them in that match. I mean, all the goals were scored in the same spot for Ochoa too. So
yeah. Well, and yeah, and Chivas, like, they did what they did, but I think hats off again. Leon. Well, has to come back into Leon, who won it all. I mean, you look at all their matches; they grinded it out. I mean, it was a 2-1 aggregate over Chivas. It was teamed out of the second leg in the final. I mean, they just kind of remember everyone thought that Puebla was gonna go on a miracle run. Yeah, right. And Leon is just gritty. Who I feel bad for about that, and I genuinely feel bad for him. Pumas, because they're getting cannibalized. They're getting chopped up. They're losing all their players, at least a lot of the key elements. It kind of sucks because Pumas, like you said, we're saying they don't. This only happens every like maybe decade that a team like Pumas gets up there and gets back to it, and then it's like as soon as they do, the big boys in the league come and take your players, and you got to work your way up. So it kind of sucks for Pumas, but we'll see what happens going forward. Hey, and we won't have to wait long because match day 1 is next Friday, the 8th. We are already starting the Clausura. And yeah, I'll just give people a quick preview for our teams. Tigres gets to play Leon in the first week. So we'll see Leon right off of that championship. Tigres off of their CONCACAF championship. America opens up against San Luis. Monterrey opens up against Atlas. Pumas will face off Tijuana, Chivas Puebla, Mazatlan Necaxa, Juarez Pachuca, Santos Cruz Azul, Toluca Querétaro. So full slate of games for that Friday and Saturday, the 8th, 9th, and Sunday the 10th of January. So you don't have to wait long if you like Mexican soccer. It's coming back. Last but not least, I do want to get rolling here, but I want to make sure I give respect, give Raul a moment here. Tigres finally broke the seal and got themselves a CONCACAF champion cup and will be representing CONCACAF in February at the World Cup of Clubs, which we'll talk about a little later in the show. So, Raul, are you convinced that this is the Tigres team that's going to bring CONCACAF a World Cup of Clubs title? We'll talk more about that, but how did you feel in general about them finally getting that title?
It was well overdue. I mean, after losing three finals in CONCACAF, it was well overdue. I mean, the one against The first one was against Pachuca. I mean, that one I would have loved to win, but we fell short there. And then the second one was with America, and that one, I mean, didn't go our way. I remember that final like perfectly. Like that was just a horrible game. And then the one against Rayados, I mean, that one that that year was
That was
it
a
was,
fantastic year.
it was a weird year. Like the way everything had played out and stuff. I was actually supposed to be at that final. I was supposed to be at that game, but your boy decided to be in the hospital for like a week or two. So, but yeah, I mean, it was well overdue. I'm happy that they finally won it. Not the way that I wanted them to win. I mean, I would have liked to be in the stadium, but
Hey, you guys stopped the Liga MX killer, LAFC, the monsters of LAFC finally got stopped by a Mexican team.
see, the thing is that it was kind of funny because I mean, Liga MX wise, Tigres has I think the second or if not the best defense there is. So I mean, and then somebody like Tuca that went a whole decade in a total decade, he won 11 trophies. Um, he knows how to stop certain players that are their key players, and he did exactly that.
That's exactly what they did. Vela was shut down in that game. You
Yeah.
eliminate Vela, and Rossi got a goal, but it's like okay, they'll get theirs, but it's obvious if you got a player who's averaging a brace a game, double up on them, shut them out, and you're done. I mean, and they were the first team. I was shocked it took that long for a team to finally do that. The other teams that played before them that got knocked out did not do, at least if they did, they didn't do a good job. But yeah. Anyways, we'll come back to them because we'll talk World Cup of Clubs. I want to jump in now. Let's switch gears, and I want to talk about. Let's do our quick roundup we usually do of the Euro leagues. What I want to do, guys, is I want to go through each league. Let's look at who's on top right now and get y'all's reactions. We're just shy of the midway point for most of the big 5 Euro leagues. So let's kick things off in the one league that was still playing through the holidays right now. Maybe not for long because COVID is coming back strong in this league. That's the Premier League. Look at the UK. Right now we have Liverpool on top with 33 points. Man U with 30 in second place. Then we have Leicester City and Everton both sitting there with 29 to round out the top 4. You then have a whole bunch of teams: Aston Villa, Chelsea, Tottenham, Man City, and Southampton sitting there with 26 points. That's kind of the race now. Interesting because we haven't been talking about, I mean, you go back to last year, we haven't had this close. I still think it's time that the top will separate themselves, but pretty close up. My big takeaway when I look at that is just that I look at the new teams in the picture, and it's interesting to see that Everton and Aston Villa, who aren't always in the top, especially Aston Villa, have been start off to a pretty strong start with 26 points. I'm curious if you guys have any reactions to and Mike, I want to, if you want to get on this, on kind of why you feel like the Premier League's been going this year, maybe a team that you've been watching or a team that you're a fan of, and kind of what your thoughts are so far. So let's just go around the bout. Everybody chime in with what you want to do about the Premier League, and then we'll move on to the next league. Yep.
I can start. I'm a Man United fan. I think they're going to win the league, not just because I'm biased, but because I'm looking at the table right now. They're 3 points off the top. They have a game in hand. So with that win, they would be, I think, tied for first, but second on goal difference. I just think they're catching, like, they're getting in a good run of form. I'm not saying it's the best time because there's probably going to be a break with the whole COVID thing, but I just feel like with Liverpool kind of with their injury problems, with them stumbling, not where they were last year, I definitely think they're the other team that could push them to the end.
Yep.
That's my pick for the league.
I'm gonna still stick with Liverpool.
I knew it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, yeah. I mean, depends on if they're gonna have to like shut this down. it might throw everything off, and then by the time it comes back. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't sleep on Liverpool, man. Like I think the last 2 years, like Liverpool has like started climbing up, and now that they're up there, it's like, can you really stop them? It's like they're a scary team, although they did tie today against Newcastle, which is kind of dumb, but I mean, I guess like it's a game you'd expect them to win. I mean, it's Liverpool.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe things are kind of falling apart over there, so it's not the best situation. But yeah, you can't sleep on Liverpool. I'm sticking with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about one of the strongest teams in Mexico being Tigres. I think when you think about a strongest team in England, I think you have to put Liverpool there in terms of its recent history, and I mean, sure, the injury, but like if the break does end up happening, that gives the players some recovery time as well. And when the tournament returns, then that's when you have all those players back. And I think again, like Liverpool is one of those teams that has a great bench. I would say like it has a great depth of players that, of course they just need to get some time to play, right? But they're just a pretty consistent team. I mean, in terms of who's gonna win this, I still think it's up in the air. I am a little biased as well. I think Man United have, compared to last tournament, they're doing an incredible job of just maintaining the results of their games. But the one team that I am saddened that is not up there like they were last year is just Wolves, and that's just after Raul Jimenez just
Mm-hmm.
got with the concussion. You're able to notice a difference that he made in with the team since Wolves, been having a hard time winning matches these last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm interested to see. I'm more curious in the people who are not doing well. I think who are going to make a move. I think out of that group of Chelsea, Tottenham, and Man City, not all three of them are not going to stay in that. I think one of them is going to move up, into and challenge and get on a run here. For me, I like to see. I mean, the Spurs have had a rough time, but I feel like that's such a good squad that I think it's annoying that they're sitting there in seventh place. The other interesting story is everybody panicking about free falling Arsenal. Arsenal just continues to free fall towards the bottom, and everybody's saying that they're going to get relegated. They better be careful because, lucky for them, those teams at the bottom are pretty bad, but they're starting to get down on that level. I mean, and if they start losing, that'd be crazy if a team like Arsenal got down there. But yeah, so it's curious. It'd be curious to see who emerges out of that middle of the pack, because I do think one of them is. I have not seen enough of Aston Villa or Leicester or Everton. I don't know if those guys are legit in that spot. I mean, we'll see. And a lot of it depends on, if, like you guys said, if there's going to be a break or not. Moving over to La Liga, another league that doesn't look like it usually does in Spain. Well, here's your top six. You got Atletico Madrid, first place, 35 points. Real Madrid right behind them with 33. Real Sociedad, Sevilla, and Villarreal all with 26. And Barcelona sitting in sixth place right now with 25. I guess the big story everyone talks about, and I want to get y'all comment anything you want, obviously, but one thing I'd like to get all y'all to touch on as we go around this one, everyone says, like, is this it? Is Barcelona just, like, have we seen the last of the messy days there? Is it what the heck's going on with Barcelona? That's always the question. For me, I heard a interesting story, and I think it's a good point. One of the things that made Barcelona good for so long, including with Messi, was their academy system. I mean, the legendary academy that came out of there, and the players who produced there. Someone made a good point. I was listening on the radio the other day that they've had if you look at the percentage of players, they've had less and less guys. They're bringing in outside guys way more than they were 10 years ago. And so they're bringing guys who aren't part of that culture. I mean, think about it. Messi's been a part of that club since he was 12. And so and Iniesta, you're right. And all those guys that have grown up together in that club, I think that's had an impact on them. I think as a club for them, that school was so good. And I think it's a management issue. It's the president on down. But that's the only reason I can explain why Barcelona has fallen off. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are. Also, I'm glad to see Atletico Madrid, at least for now, a team that's always been like the redheaded stepchild. it's nice to see them actually in first place for once. Anyways, y'all's thoughts on La Liga and some of the interesting stories there.
Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I agree with Atletico Madrid. I think we've said this in the show over and over. If there was ever a time for Atletico Madrid to take advantage of the situation of Madrid or Barcelona not doing so well, it has been this year, and they're still taking advantage of that. They're still first place, and they have like 2 matches or so to catch up. So
Yeah.
if you count those as wins, like we did before, then they're all the way over Madrid or Barcelona. I mean, but like we still can't sleep on them. I think you can't sleep on Barcelona, you can't sleep on Madrid. But the question is like, how many weeks in are we gonna have to wait for the tournament to be resolved, or is this gonna be resolved before before April or something like that?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this might be one of the seasons where you don't have a Real Madrid or a Barcelona that take it. I mean, you might have somebody like Sevilla. I mean, you can't sleep on Sevilla. You have Atletico up there, not by much, but I mean they're up there. Uh, Surprisingly, Real Sociedad is up there, but they've actually gotten a lot better, like this season. So I mean, this might be the season where you're gonna see something different, not the same stuff that you see every year. Like, oh, Real Madrid has won again for like the 30th time, like in a row. Like it gets boring, it gets tiring. So I mean, yeah, it's nice to see something new, but I mean, it should be interesting the way this is going to end. I mean, especially Barcelona. Who knows how it's going to go with Messi and stuff. I feel like some way somehow he's going to find his way out of that club, and I wouldn't mind seeing him go back to Argentina, but I for his caliber, and then like it's not Argentina's just not big enough for him. He
Yeah.
needs to stay in Europe. He can't go back to. I would go back to Argentina if like you're gonna retire. Like, all right, go back to your first team and that's it. But to go back right now where he still has like a few years left in him, yeah, no, it's Argentina is not big enough. It's not a big enough stage for him.
Would you see him? I mean, I'm just wondering. I mean, for me, it's hard to imagine him in a different La Liga jersey. Some have suggested maybe a Premier League move, but I don't know. I just don't see Messi, especially at this stage of his career. I mean, the Premier League is just so crowded with stars, and like I said, it's still Messi. I get it, but I just don't know. I don't see that as a fit. I don't know.
I can actually see him going to a Premier League team, and if the only team that I can see him going to there, it's Man City. I feel like that would be like the only fit for him. I mean,
And that's been the only team that we've at least heard rumors that like that's probably where because of Pep Guardiola and his connection there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
I think he should go.
You got to look at who's on those teams too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like I said, you mentioned the manager, but also, yeah, you look at some of the guys. I mean, if he can link up with some of the other guys that he would play with on the national level, who knows? He may consider it.
Kun Agüero, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you ain't the money. No one else is going to afford it. Premier League is the only league that has that sort of money. But
he could go to Italy too.
That too.
Make a Ronaldo move.
He could follow Ronaldo and chase after him, I guess. Speaking of that, let's switch gears. I'm curious, and I want to talk about Italy because it's funny y'all brought that up. Ronaldo and Juventus, they're also sitting in 6th place over in Serie A. It's the Milan teams that are kicking butt right now. AC Milan sitting in first with 34 and Inter Milan with 33. Then you have Roma, Sassuolo, Napoli, and Juventus in 6th place. So somebody has finally, at least for now, lowered the mighty Juventus out of their first place. What are y'all's thoughts on both AC Milan and Inter Milan coming out of the gate swinging? I mean, they're 10 points clear of Juventus now. And Juventus has played one less match, but they're 10 points behind. What are y'all's thoughts on that situation? Because we always have seen Juventus and usually like a Napoli or or Lazio, but not this year. What are y'all's thoughts?
Zlatan.
I guess if you believe it, if you buy in what's going on there. Like I said, I thought out of the Milan teams, I thought Inter Milan, and obviously they're second place, it's only a point behind. But we talked about Inter Milan last season being very strong and challenging. I did not see AC Milan. I didn't envision them making this sort of a jump, to a pretty commanding first place. I think they had they're plus 16 goal differential. Inter Milan's plus 17. A little bit better than Juventus again. And I don't know, Mike, I don't know if you follow any of Serie A, but I know you're a Ronaldo fan. What do you think is going on with Juventus? Why? They're usually unstoppable, but they are stoppable this year.
I would say, in terms of Juventus, they've definitely changed the way they play to fit Ronaldo. Like since he's come in, they've made him the main man. So as opposed to going through other players like Dybala or other players that used to shine, now Ronaldo's the main man. He's the go-to guy. So kind of changing your style that's worked for so long to fit one of the biggest stars in the world, like it's obviously not working. That's my thought.
And he's still on top. He scored 12 goals over the 13 games right now, so he's still on top there. But right behind him, Inter Milan, Lukaku with his 11 goals, and Zlatan at AC with 10 goals. You finally have some other powerhouses there in terms of. Those Milan teams look real good this year, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see long term what the run is there. So
when we talk about adapting to a team, I think Lukaku just needed some time to adapt to Milan, and now he's that go-to guy. When you think about when Ronaldo came, I think that's the same thing that's happening with Zlatan. Just Zlatan's coming into the team and making everybody good, and I think that's what the Milans needed. They needed players who are going to make everybody else look good, and I think that's what worked for Juventus at first. I can't say for certain because I haven't watched Juventus matches in the league themselves. But from what I've seen in the Champions League, I think it's still a Juventus that plays overall well. Yes, with a little bit more focus on Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think it's just the matter of fact. It's just they don't have enough of a depth as a team as they used to. Like when they did get Ronaldo for the first time, you had Higuain, you had I'm forgetting this dude's name from Croatia. You have all these players that they used to have when he came in. Now they're not there. So maybe they are just banking on Ronaldo.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I will say this though, it's a little silly when you think about it now. The fact that Zlatan was in the MLS, like it just seems silly to me. Like he never belonged in the MLS. Like that was clearly like almost like a PR stunt. I feel like now, like Zlatan, go play in an actual. I'm not critiquing the MLS, but we can all agree that Serie A and AC Milan's a little bit more prestigious than playing for the Galaxy. Sorry. And it's like, what were you doing? Like, was it just I feel like for Zlatan, he was just a vacation. He's like, I'm going to take a couple years. I'm just going to hang out in California. Okay, now I want to go back and play real soccer. Seriously, it makes no sense to me.
Zlatan does what Zlatan.
Apparently. And so, real quick, though, I just want to wrap before we get to the Champions League, but just real quick, nothing new really in Bundesliga. Bayern Munich is on top there. I will note, though, that Leverkusen and Leipzig are right behind them, so they're right in the middle of things there, but not too much difference in Bundesliga. And for the first time ever, I'm just going to mention it, because I don't think it'll last long. They're only up by a point. But PSG is actually not in first place in the French league. They're behind by 1 point behind Lyon and Lille. So, that's not going to last long, but whatever. I just wanted to mention that in a roundup. Let's get to what I really wanted to talk about, and that was these knockout matchups. What I like to do, guys, I like to go matchup by matchup, and you guys give me who you like and why. Kind of try and keep a rapid fire here, and then we'll wrap things up with Europe, and we'll move on to other things. So, round of 16 is going to kick off in February. So we're about 6 weeks out from that starting. Match number 1, we have Leipzig versus Liverpool. 2 legs, obviously, but we're finally in a knockout round. I'll start it off. This is an easy one for me. Sorry, Leipzig. And I'll give Leipzig credit. They got far last year and impressed us. I think I'm going to go with Liverpool. I mean, kind of hard not to in a round of 16. So I'm going Liverpool over Leipzig. Y'all's thoughts on this matchup? Let's just go around. Let's start with Raul. I think I know who you're picking, but let's make it official.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Liverpool. I mean, well, I don't know. Like this,
It's a wacky year.
I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, yeah, it's unpredictable. Leipzig could like show up and then just I don't know slap Liverpool around. I mean, who knows? They could pull a Cruz Azul. You just never know. So I mean, I'm gonna go with Liverpool, but you just never know. I mean, sometimes it catches you off guard and then you're surprised.
Richard, Leipzig or Liverpool?
Liverpool. I mean, same comments as Raul. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
Michael, Leipzig or Liverpool?
Liverpool.
All right, so we're unanimous on the Premier League on this one. These are some pretty juicy matchups, at least on paper. The next one, maybe not so much. We just got to talk about it, but I'm interested to see this next one. Barcelona trying to redeem themselves from being embarrassed last year, that 8-2 to Bayern. They have to start off their round of 16 against PSG. This is tough for me. Part of me wants to go to the whole story of, they're going to have a big comeback and, the miracle story of Barcelona. But then I go back and I go, PSG is just a really loaded team and has a lot of experience in Champions League. It's I'm going to go with PSG. I'm going to think with my mind, not my heart on this one. So I'm going to say PSG over Barcelona. Let's reverse it. Michael, what do you think? Barcelona, PSG?
Yeah, PSG for me as well. Barcelona just not performing this year.
Raul, Barcelona, PSG.
I'll go with Barcelona.
Okay.
This might be one of the trophies that they could end up winning, and that would probably make Messi happy and probably keep him there.
You can think of it that way. I think they could be, they could be playing for Messi basically. Richard.
Well, that's true. But I'm gonna go with PSG. They've just. I think this is probably their redemption match. From when they lost 6-2 against Barcelona. So,
yeah. Some interesting matchups. I mean, just to open up things. I mean, some storylines here. Next up, we have we have our second La Liga team in there from Sevilla against Dortmund. Dortmund, who's sitting in 6th or 7th, they're kind of having an off regular season. For me, I'm going to go with Sevilla because Sevilla just seems to be kind of marching right along right now. And Dortmund, for me, Dortmund never has really impressed me in the Champions League. I mean, Dortmund has been, I think, a good domestically, and they for years, going back and forth with Bayern. But for some reason, I'm more sold on in Champions League play. I'm more sold on a Sevilla type team. Richard, your thoughts?
Yep, I agree. Sevilla for me is the one team. I think like when you think of La Liga teams who might actually get far this time around, I think Sevilla has had their try at it over at the Europa side. Now they're here at Champions League. It's their time.
Right. Raul.
Yeah, Sevilla. I don't know. I mean, Dortmund. I don't know. Dortmund's kind of fell off these last couple years. They're not the Dortmund that they used to be. So I'm sticking with Sevilla.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, Sevilla for me.
Then Michael, right on you with the next one here. We're going to do Porto against Juventus. Porto's one of those teams that always gets in there, but I always feel like they're always like kind of the sacrificial lamb. But Juventus, I mean, it is what it is. But I think you can't really. It's hard to bet against Ronaldo in Champions League, especially in a round of 16. We're not here, so I'm going to say Juventus. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, in terms of the matchups we've covered, I think this is the most Juventus would be the most convincing to win for me. I just don't think Porto could compete at the big stage.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, it seems the most lopsided out of the group. Raul, Richard, any of your thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, Juventus.
I don't think anyone's. Richard, are you going to shock me? Are you going to say Porto or?
No, I mean, it's really hard to go against Juventus. However, I don't think this is a lopsided match. I think this is a match that's going to be defined on the second leg, just because Porto is going to bring the entire game on that first leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, an interesting matchup. Atletico Madrid, currently first place in La Liga, is going to be playing Premier League side Chelsea. Atletico Madrid versus Chelsea. I just think Raul hit on this earlier. I think Atletico Madrid, like they have some. I mean, them and the Sevillas of the world, like they have something to prove. They've always been kind of like, if there's going to be a year to not be a Real Madrid or Barcelona rep in Spain, it's going to be this year. So I think Atletico Madrid. I'm not overly impressed with Chelsea. They're okay. They're solid, but I'm gonna say Atletico Madrid on this one. Raul.
I'm gonna say Atletico. The way that they're playing it's different when you're playing a league and then you got to play Champions League. Everybody seems to step their game up in Champions League more, but Atletico. I mean, Chelsea's not doing so well. I haven't been sold on Chelsea at all, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with Atletico.
Richard, Michael, either one of y'all have a different, or are we all in agreement on Atletico on this one?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Atletico.
Let's see. Defending champions, Bayern drew Lazio. Anyone? Is there any way that Bayern you think is going to get knocked out on this one? Because I don't think so. Not around a 16. I got to go with Bayern on this one. Anyone else think differently? No. Now, the one that I'm interested in is the dark horse from, you remember the miracle story, the celebrating in the streets of Atalanta. They draw Real Madrid in the first round, which I think is, on paper, people go like, most people would be like, oh, Real Madrid, I don't know. Like, if I'm going to pick a dark horse again that I'm going to ride with, I would go with Atalanta, honestly, because I mean, if they get that momentum and they can knock out a Real Madrid in the round of 16, they could be a dangerous team again. I mean, I don't know. So I think Real Madrid, could hold, but I'm going to officially go with Atalanta to be my dark horse pick, the unexpected, the upset pick for the round of 16. What are y'all's thoughts?
I mean, when I think about Atalanta, they are the team that always upsets. They did it against Juventus in La Coppa Italia a year ago, almost 2 years ago. And they did it last year when they defeated, I forgot who they defeated, but they ended up advancing to the round of 16 as well. So I think if this is a time for Atalanta to make another big comeback where everybody's going to be devastated, it's this year. So I'm going to go with Atalanta.
Cool. Let's throw the last one to you, Michael, before I let you go. Our last matchup is Premier League side, Man City, against a team I always love to say their name, Mönchengladbach from Germany. Are the boys from Man City going to roll on this one, or do you think, or could Mönchengladbach give them a handful?
No, I think Man City has too much quality going forward to really get troubled by Mönchengladbach.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, there's a lot of expectations on that Man City squad because there's been a lot of money spent on that roster, and a lot of people are getting itchy to see some results. So it'd be interesting to see if that doesn't pan out, what that means for their situation, because there are high expectations, I think, internally at Man City from the organization and their fan base. So, anyways, I know we went a little longer on that, but Michael, I appreciate you sticking around and joining us this evening, giving your picks on that. So we'll look forward. We'll have you join us maybe sometime towards the end of the year, towards the probably at the end of y'all's shortened season, to see how things panned out, and we'll go from there. So I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, man. Take it easy. Okay, Raul's going to be back with us in a minute, but we shall march on. Let's go, Richard. Let's look at, and I'm just going to, let me see here. Let's go
We have the
Libertadores. Okay, let's switch gears back to the current situation that is 2020. The World Cup of Clubs, as we know, was supposed to be in December, but it got moved now to February, which we'll talk about. Every continent has determined their champion except for CONMEBOL in South America. Libertadores was the only one who didn't finish in December. They're now going to finish it in January in the coming weeks. So we have our semifinals set. We have 2 Argentinian teams, 2 Brazilian teams, some usual suspects, some surprises there. But let's go through our semifinal matchups, and what I'll do for each one. Let me just I'll give a rundown of how they got where they got. In other words, let's start with River Plate and Palmeiras. They'll be playing Leg 1 on the 5th and Leg 2 on the 12th of this upcoming month. Just to give y'all perspective, River Plate in the quarterfinals smashed Nacional 8-2 aggregate, and prior to that. I had this down, sorry. They won a 2-1 aggregate in the round of 16 over Atletico PR. So that's River Plate's journey to where they are. Palmeiras, on the other hand, in the previous round, won very convincingly, 4-1 aggregate over Libertad. And before that, annihilated Delfin 8-1 aggregate in the round of 16. So 2 pretty confident teams. They've been winning by lots of goals. They're matching up. They're starting off. River Plate is going to be home first, and then Palmeiras home in Leg 2. What are y'all's thoughts on this matchup? Who do you see coming out of it, and why?
I want River Plate.
Now, do you want River Plate because you think River Plate is going to be Palmeiras, or do you want River Plate because you want them to play Bocas in the finals?
I mean, River Plate is just, historically, River Plate is just one of those teams that, they're a strong team. They're known for Libertadores.
They won it. They won it last year.
Yes.
Yes, because they were in the they were in World Cup of Clubs last year. So
yeah. Historically, they're a well-known team to run the table in Libertadores, but I'd love for them to play Boca again. I'd love for that. The first one is the one that went down in history, but to have a second one, I'd really love for Boca to have a redemption.
Yeah, so they were actually the runners-up from last year's, losing against Flamengo.
That's right. Flamengo went to the World Cup of Clubs.
But I agree with what Raul said. They're just a team who's known for going to the finals, who's known for just being a dominant team. And when you think of an Argentinian team outside of Boca, it's always River Plate. I picked them from the beginning when we were talking about who our potential winner. I'm going with River Plate. They're just like the one team that, if I'm gonna be honest with you, who has the opportunity to win this whole thing and go ahead and compete and maybe play against Tigres, it's River Plate.
Cool. So I think we're all. I'd go with River Plate too, just for some of the same reasons. I think they're really strong. Although, like I said, they Palmeiras, I think, will definitely give them a challenge. It'll be interesting to see how close it actually is. On the flip side of things, we have another Argentinian team, Boca Juniors, the last team to get into the semifinals against Santos. To give you all a little background, Santos in the previous round was against Gremio, and they won 5-2 aggregate against them. And before that, Santos had advanced on away goals 2-2 against LDU Quito. Now, Boca Juniors had an interesting matchup. They had to play Racing Club, another Argentinian team. Last round, they did what they had to do in the second leg, 1-1. And then before that, they won on penalties against Internacional in the round of 16. So Boca's had some ups and downs, had some struggles, but here they are. They come into a matchup against Santos. What are y'all's thoughts on the other Argentinian-Brazil matchup?
I'm going with Boca. Boca is just one of those. And as much as I'd like to play River Plate in the World Cup of Clubs, I think Boca has everything to play for Argentina, both Argentinian teams, but Boca has everything to play for after Maradona died. So I'm pretty sure them winning the Libertadores is basically a tribute to Maradona. Like, hey, like here you go, man. Um, although I'm not, I'm not the big fan of trying to play Boca in the World Cup of Clubs because that's just one team. I mean, we've played River Plate, and yeah, it's River Plate. We we kind of like know like their style of play already. But Boca is just one of those teams like where they scare you. Like you just don't know because you haven't played them yet.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're bringing up a good point. They scratched and clawed all their way to where they are today. I think even if you watch the highlights from their last match, they really wanted to win that game by whatever means necessary that they did. I mean, but I could say the same thing for Santos. Santos again being that one historical team where Neymar came out of, where Pelé came out of. I think now this is their year. I mean, they defeated one of the previous champions, even Copa Libertadores champions, Gremio. So I think Santos is I think out of the two matches, and I mean obviously like Palmeiras is obviously a great team, but I think the Boca Juniors Santos match is gonna be the one to watch where I think we won't know this probably is gonna be the match that ends up going to penalties.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. That's going to be the closer of the two, and like I said, yeah, part of you wants. I mean, I know everybody kind of wants to see obviously a classico and a final like that. It'd be cool to see River Plate and Boca face off, but yeah, like I said, not pushover squads that they're playing against. So I'm gonna go with Boca's on it, like Raul did, but I definitely agree with you, Richard. It's going to be a lot closer than we thought. Speaking of World Cup of Clubs, let's do that real quick before we close out. World Cup of Clubs is going to be February 1st to the 11th, and we have teams that are qualified. I just want to review the kind of the formatting for people who aren't familiar with this because teams don't all start at the same time. There is preference given, obviously, to the bigger confederations. So the first game is actually kind of think of it as a play-in game between the host. In this case, it is in Qatar, where the next World Cup will be. Al Duhail is the domestic champion there, and they will face the representative from Oceania, which is from New Zealand, Auckland City. Those two will play each other. The winner of that goes to round two, where we'll first see, and we'll see how the seeding ends up, drawing and whatnot. But we'll have the winner of that game, CONCACAF's champion, Tigres. We will then have the African champion, which is from Egypt, and we will have the Asian champion, Ulsan Hyundai, which is from South Korea. So those four teams will play each other, and then those two winners have the privilege of facing Bayern Munich or the champion of Libertadores that we just talked about. So the South American champion, which will be determined, and then there you have it. You have your final four. So it is an extra game. Think of it as if you're a football fan, an American football fan, it's like having a bye week, basically, if you are the CONMEBOL or UEFA champions, Bayern and whoever wins gets to hang out. And it's an extra game that, an extra round. In other words, if Tigres is going to make it, they got to first get out of that first round. I don't know as much. I tried looking up a little bit on these other teams from the African team and the Asian team and whatnot. And I don't know obviously for me, I don't know whatever reason. Obviously they won, they earned their spot, but the amount of I just feel like it's extreme, at least on paper. Like the names, I'm not excited. It's just, it feels like, I'll ask Raul this first. It feels like if Tigres is going to do it, this is it. Like, this is a pretty good field that it would be a massive disappointment if Tigres can't get out of that round two against whoever they play out of that group, because I don't see any of them scaring from a gambling perspective. If I'm putting odds on it, I don't see how any of them would be favored against the Tigres team. I really don't.
No, yeah, the way Tigres has been like now, like before going into like the next season for Guardianes, Tigres has actually been stacking up with players looking forward to the World Cup of Clubs. On paper, Tigres look solid. Like they're a solid team. This Tigres, I would love to see in Libertadores again because I feel like they would be able to get it done. Shit, we had the team to get it done back in like 2015, but it just didn't happen. But yeah, if it's gonna happen, it would have to be like this World Cup of Clubs, which would be historic. Like that would be like the greatest thing ever. Like I like it sounds weird, but Mexico, like even if Tigres got to the final, and I know you go for Real, she goes for America, like it doesn't matter. All of Mexico has to get behind Tigres because, for one, that would be the first team ever in history to make it to a final in a World Cup of Clubs, at least Mexican wise. So it's like, why wouldn't you cheer them on? Like, fuck, like bring that cup to Mexico. Like that would be like the biggest day in history. I would go ape shit crazy. Like I'd start drawing out tattoo plans for like a big like World Cup of Clubs trophy on my back or on my leg. Like it would be crazy, but on paper, Tigres, like the way I see it playing out, three, the first place, second place, and third place. It's either gonna be not in any order, but those those three spots, Bayern, whoever wins Libertadores, or Tigres. In what order? I don't know, but I can see those three right there being like mixed around. We could get second, or we could get third. I'd love to get first. Obviously Bayern is the favorite because I mean after what they did last Champions League, but yeah, like on paper, Tigres has like a very high chance of like going deep into this tournament, the World Cup of Clubs.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say, Raul? I mean, you know me. I before I put my team over or anything like that, I have respect for the game and respect for Liga MX as well. And I think I said it last year when Monterrey went. I thought they were gonna get over to the finals as well. Um, Obviously, they played against Liverpool. Out of all the times they could have played a CONMEBOL team, they ended up playing the UEFA team. But I say that again with Tigres. I think Monterrey and Tigres are the two teams that can compete outside of Mexico. Outside meaning like Europe, South America, because those are the teams that you end up facing in that semifinals. So I think, like you said, if it's Tigres' time, this is the one time. They already got the one title that they've escaped them, the Champions League. Now they have the World Cup of Clubs, and what better way to do it than this time around when it's their first opportunity, out of many that will come later on the road. But I do think that if they are stacking up, then this is going to be the first time that a Mexican team goes to the final, like you said. Necaxa has gone third place. Monterrey got third place last year. So third place has been a spot that Liga MX has won in the past, but they haven't reached the final. So
I,
I think,
I'd be happy with second place, honestly. Like just
Just get to
making
the final.
just making it to the final, and
Yeah.
we lose. Like obviously, it would suck, but I'd be happy with second place because I mean, just to say like we're the first team that made it to the final. It's not the result that we wanted, but I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, it it should be interesting, and I'm not I don't want to sound cocky or anything. And I'm not like because that could always turn around and bite you in the ass. But like I do have hope that they can like make it that far. Um, and I mean, you really never know with like the year that we've had. This could be like one hell of a ride for Tigres. If Tigres were to win the World Cup of Clubs, I honestly wouldn't care for any other trophy in the world at this point. Maybe Libertadores, but other than that, like that one trophy, that's it. Like, what else do I need?
right, out of the reach of any club, that is essentially the only title that any Liga MX team has not been able to conquer has been the World Cup of Clubs.
Yeah. Definitely, it's gonna be fun, and it's nice that we got 10 days. It's gonna be all smashed in there, so it'll be quick. and it'll be interesting to see how those teams respond when they travel out there for that. Okay, I know we're over time, but just real quick, I just wanted so people know it's kind of more of an FYI. Let's take a look at the other tournament that we don't really pay attention to because people, I think, get confused a lot. If you're a casual soccer fan, you don't realize that in the Summer Olympics, that's not the full blown national teams. It's the U23 national team, so it's a younger talent. It's guys who eventually you'll see in a World Cup, playing for their country, many of them, not all of them. But I'm kind of excited about this because it's not always the teams you expect. It also, for me, I like it because it's a nice preview of, as I just said, some of the guys that you're going to see on the actual senior national teams. As I going down the bottom here, every continent is actually, the Olympics were supposed to be this past summer. They got moved back a year because of COVID. They're taking place this July 2021. Every conference, every continent had determined their teams, except for, of course, because we're extra, CONCACAF. And so we got to determine that in March. So let's look at who's in. Representing South America, Argentina and Brazil, obviously two powerhouses. The U20 to 23 teams will go there. Oceania, New Zealand, where Auckland City was from. We just talked about World Cup of Clubs. In Europe, usual powerhouses, France, Germany, Spain, and the surprise one, Romania. And in Asia, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and Saudi Arabia. And in Africa, Ivory Coast, Egypt, and South Africa. Now, all teams that we're used to hearing when it comes to the World Cup. But like I said, just remember, these are their U23 teams. Switching it up, CONCACAF does get 2 berths in the Olympics. We'll determine it in March. We're having a 2-group, small little mini tournament. It's going to be quick. Mexico, USA, Costa Rica, and the Dominican Republic are all stuck in one group. And Honduras, Canada, El Salvador, and Haiti are in Group B. The top 2 finishers, basically who plays in the top 2 finishers of this play, will go on to the Olympics. So I'm curious y'all's thoughts there. I mean, I haven't not read all the format. I think you can have obviously 2 teams from the same group go, but because obviously I would love to see the US U23 team in the Olympics, but just to get a look at them on a international stage. But if it is 1 team per group, which I just don't know, it's going to be tough because Mexico has a pretty good U23 team as well. Assuming that it's not based on that, assuming it's just you're not tied to 1 per group, I think it's pretty safe to say we would say Mexico and the United States are the favorites here. If you were going to pick a third team, remember U23 here, to challenge USA or Mexico, who would you guys pick out of these 6 remaining teams that could take the spot of a Mexico or USA and be kind of a shocker?
Costa Rica.
I'm going to go with Honduras.
Oh, fuck no.
You got to give them credit to the Catrachas, or Haiti. I mean, Haiti, they sometimes, like, I mean, I know you said, like, if it ends up being, like, if it doesn't end up being 1 per group, then yeah, I think Mexico, US. But I think outside of that, looking at Honduras or Haiti being the ones who go across from that 1 team, I mean, I know I'm saying Haiti, and usually you don't think about soccer when you think about Haiti. But I think in their last demonstrations and like the friendly games that they've had, they've been able to like show some good quality soccer compared to what they had 15, 20 years ago.
Well, now that Honduras, like their league, I mean, I fucking hate them. But like, if I had to pick somebody, I would say maybe Honduras. I mean, Honduras over El Salvador any day. But yeah, I mean, they actually have some pretty strong players because, I mean, obviously we just got done playing Olympia and CONCACAF, and they basically beat themselves. But like, I feel like they could get the job done. I mean, them or Haiti.
I think how it's going to work, and I may be wrong on this. I think it's basically top 2. They'll do a round of group play, so they'll play 3 group stage games in their group. Top 2 from each one will go on to a little mini tournament, a semifinal. So let's say Mexico, USA come out on one side, and then you have, I don't know, Canada and Haiti on the other side. they would then match up, like, first place from Group A, let's say it's Mexico, would play second place Canada, and then second place United States would play first place Haiti. Those two winners are the two that go. I think that's how they're doing it. They're doing it to kind of determine out, but I think that's the case. I hope they do, because it's stupid if they limit it. The fact that if Mexico or USA is going to be sitting at home just because they're in the same group, like, that's just stupid to me. That better not be the case.
But to some degree, that's how I wish the Gold Cup was. I mean, I know, we want to see them both, but I think every time it's always like the usual suspects when we say, like, it's gonna be Mexico or US on any competition on the CONCACAF side. Like, I think this is gonna give it a reason to actually, like, either team want to play their best, because it's win it or lose it, and then you get a chance to spotlight all the other teams on CONCACAF, which may or may not be, within competition. But usually when you have Mexico in one group, the US on the other, you're like, that's going to be Mexico, US.
Well, I mean, I disagree pretty big time, because the whole purpose is not to showcase the little teams in the league. Like, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I want the two best teams, period. I don't care what countries they are. The two best teams, period, to go represent CONCACAF, and whether it be the Olympics, World Cup, whatever. And I don't want one position to be kind of, it feels like it's a charity handout at that point. Oh, well, you guys don't get much spotlight. Here's Group B, and one of you guys will go. You'll get murdered in the other round. You'll get murdered in the actual tournament, and we're going to have one of the better qualified teams just sit out for you. I mean, it just reeks of, like, everybody gets a trophy type culture, which I don't like. And it's like, look, you want to beat USA and Mexico. You guys have plenty of opportunities to do that by developing your programs and playing in. You have the same access to the same tournaments, the same qualifying matches, the same World Cup qualifying. It's like, I don't think we should. It's like giving a training wheels to a Honduras or El Salvador by saying, "Oh, look, we'll take all the really good teams and we'll put them over here." I hate that. Just let it play out. I'd rather just have an open field. That's why I'm not even a big fan of the whole group thing anyway. I'd rather just be an open field of 8 teams and draw out of a hat and go. Yeah. I mean, that's how it should be. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. And like I said, I don't know what they've agreed to. But yeah, I mean, I think those teams have the same chance, as anybody else would. I'm sure that a lot of eyes rolled when South America goes, well, Argentina and Brazil, could have predicted that one. It's like, well, sorry, Peru, if you want to get in there, get in there. You have to earn it. That's my opinion.
No, of course, yeah. You definitely hit it on the ball point. Like, CONCACAF wanting to do it in a group tournament rather than doing what South America did, which was just the overall tournament. For the Tokyo, it was an actual tournament that you played to qualify for this thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it just seems a little silly, but CONCACAF has always been extra with their stuff. We're always doing something extra. I mean, everybody else has their stuff together, and we're always on something else. Okay, guys, I know we went a little over, but I wanted to just hit on that. This is our final show of 2020. In a couple more months, we'll be rounding out year 4 and starting year 5 already. This whole COVID thing started when we started our 4th year, and so we're only a couple months away from another anniversary of Tech Soccer Live. So I appreciate y'all. I guess I'll open it up for final words for me. I'm looking forward to us getting back to normal. However, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think a lot of these wacky results of COVID are going to be carrying through the next several, probably well into 2021. I don't think until we get past the World Cup in 2022 and can reset everything, like reset and go from 2022 to 2026, looking towards the 2026 World Cup. I don't think it's going to be the whole soccer world and tournaments and everything exactly how we were used to it. I don't think it's going to be back until that, that happens, until we get through the next World Cup. It's just gotten so out of balance. But you know what? Hats off to soccer, though, because out of all the sports, it's one of the sports that I've seen pretty much go on without a stop. Yes, there has been some breaks, but most leagues seem to be handling it pretty well. And and getting guys back to playing and doing the best we can to keep up these tournaments. World Cup of Clubs could have been canceled. I mean, all this stuff could have been canceled. So I think it's just a testament to how much people want to see this stuff happen, and so they're going to make it happen. So those are my thoughts. I hope on my behalf, I hope everybody has had great holidays and has a happy new year. I'm sure we're all sad not to see 2020 hit the door and get on out of here. So I'll turn it over to you guys for any of your final thoughts. But remember, people, to follow, like, share, all that good stuff. And so let's turn it over to either one of y'all who wants to give your closing remarks of 2020.
This year sucked.
That pretty much captures it all right there. Richard, any more elaboration for your last words of 2020?
Man, you know me. I want to thank everybody. Quiero agradecerle a todas las personas que nos han visto, que nos han compartido, que le han dado like a la página de Texas Soccer Live. To everybody who keeps on sharing, liking, commenting it. Throughout the year, like we said, 2020 has been a difficult year. We've all, try to at least keep the spirits high up, and hopefully those of you who have watched us either live or on playback, or who have joined us here on the show throughout these months, we want to thank you, just because we want to keep the spirit of soccer alive, and definitely the fans are always keeping it alive for us to have something to talk about every month. I think this has been the 1 year where thankfully we've been healthy enough to all be here for the show. So props to 2020 for giving us some strange year, but what a way to start the decade. So keep on watching us, like Sean said. Keep on sharing, keep on liking. Any of our content out there, give us a quick shout out. Keep commenting, and we really appreciate that. And if there's anything, if y'all want to join us at some point, just send us a DM. We're open. I have my Instagram handle right here.
Slide into our DMs.
Yeah. See y'all on 2021. Nos vemos en el 2021.
All right, we'll come to you probably in January. If not January, definitely early February, because it's the World Cup of Clubs. We'll see if we'll do a show or not. We'll kind of see how the new year begins, but we'll come back to you with our usual shows, and hopefully in a month or two, we'll have some plans. Maybe we plan on doing hopefully something special, hopefully if we can, for our anniversary show, as always, in March. So you guys take it easy. As always, for Texas Soccer Live, I'm Sean Telez with Richard Romero and Raul Villarreal. Y'all have a fantastic evening and even better new year.